Welcome to the Rockstar Principles Podcast, coming straight to you from Rock and Roll, USA, covering the latest and greatest in educational leadership trends, news, and awesomeness for principals all over the world. Now, here are your hosts, the boss, John Ross, and the Doctor of Proctors, Nick Indeglio.
Please rise as Caleb Johnson, your new American Idol crowned on May 21st, accompanied by the National Symphony Orchestra, leads us in the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets regular, the bombs bursting, yea, proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Welcome back to the Rockstar Principles Podcast. We are very excited to be broadcasting live from Neumann University's Downingtown Cohort, and we've got EDU 745 happening right now. A bunch of awesome people in the room. You're going to hear from them during our discussion at some point today during the big episode 40. This is 40th episode, folks. Very exciting stuff right here. The boss, John Ross, is down on the end of the table. He is a student in the course. That's why he is being silent at this time. He knows his grade depends on good answers to all of the questions that we're going to be asking here. So we have an article discussion for this segment from the Washington Post, and it's about something very timely that teachers in Pennsylvania and all across the country are going through. It's the new teacher evaluation model, the PVAS projections, definitely tied into our PVAS roster verification as well. And it just so happens that at the time of year teachers are being evaluated, and 35 different states are looking at a model like the one we're talking about, a report comes out, a study comes out, and the study claims this. It says, in the first large-scale analysis of new systems that evaluate teachers based partly on student test scores, 2 researchers found little or no correlation between quality teaching and the appraisals that teachers received. So right now, the discussion that we're going to have with a group of administrators and teachers in our group right now, it's going to talk about this. Is this PVAS system valid? Is it a step in the right direction? Is this what should we be doing? Should we be evaluating in a different way? What are the opinions? What are the feelings of the members of this class, members of the educational community? How are we feeling about it? So someone jump in, just tell us, what are you thinking right now?
I think looking at assessment results for kids is important, and making determinations on that critical. But when you start looking at kids as percentages and treating them like percentages, you move more towards a widget model, and you create actually more contention than you do collaboration. And I think the way the system's set up, it's making us lose the big picture on kids, and we're not treating them like kids now. We're treating them like pieces of the pie, almost Lego sets, and It's unfortunate.
I think you're seeing the inverse of what the designers of these systems intended. I think they thought if a teacher would say, I have 32% responsibility, I'm going to make sure I get that kid to where they need to be because I want that 32% to be the best it can be. But I think inversely, it's causing to the stress levels of people, and they're looking at it more from the perspective of, I can't believe I have 32% of this kid. I can't believe 32% of my evaluation is going to be based on that. And I don't know if that's right or if that's wrong, but I think that's the reality that education and educators are facing. So I think right off the bat, we're seeing an inverse effect as opposed to what they assumed would be the outcome.
The more you put emphasis on assessments, we were talking about it earlier, it's happening already, is teachers feel the pressure to just teach to the test, to get those results, to get the growth.
And teaching the test is only a bad thing if what is on the test the kids should know. But
Right.
usually the test is a really good baseline
Right.
of what students should know how to do. So I know teaching the test has a really negative connotation to it, but if fourth graders should know how to do long division and there's long division on the test and the teacher's teaching long division, they're kind of teaching to the test, but teachers should be teaching that stuff. I think what's really lost there is a lot of autonomy for teachers to teach what they want to teach, and the standards have really focused in on what needs to be taught. So I think there's a lot of conversation about we're teaching to the test, and I think that has a negative connotation when it's really only a bad thing if what's on the test is a bad thing.
There's definitely, I've seen as a teacher, there's definitely a lack or less emphasis placed on authentic, they're talking about real life learning, things that are applicable, things that you're going to see down the road. Of course, there's basic concepts that we need to teach. However, when it comes to discovering learning and things that kids are going to remember, things that we look back and we may have done as a student, and those projects, those lessons that stood out to us are probably ones we've never actually been tested on in a standardized way, but yet they're the ones that were, had the biggest impact or were the most significant in our lives.
Well, I also have concern with the system too, because PVOS is supposed to be measuring a year's worth of growth, but you're talking about a curriculum that we give to teachers that's 9 months long, but our state assessment is given about 6.5 months into the year.
Assuming there's no snow days.
Right. So when you think about what a year's worth of growth is really only covering 2/3 of the curriculum, the math just doesn't make sense. The argument from the state is that aren't able to get the results back in time. In our situation as school districts, when we tell people or higher ups that we don't have enough time to do this, they don't want to hear about time as an excuse. And I think if there was a way that we could be allowed to have 9 months of curriculum and teach mastery and be assessed at the end of that, I think PVOS would have more merit.
Let me play devil's advocate if I can for a second, and it's not much of a stretch for me because a lot of my teachers know that I'm a big fan of data. Although I certainly see the merits of the argument against the PVOS stuff. This to me, I don't see how. If I want to know what kind of job I'm doing as a teacher, then I think there's value in seeing how my kids perform. I'm saying there's value. I'm not saying it's the end all be all. I'm just saying there's value in seeing how my children perform compared to the people next door to me, compared to people across the district and across the Commonwealth and maybe even across the country. I hope no one would say that there's no value in these tests whatsoever, because I think there is. And I think the way that we're going about it wrong is that the mentality of the state is that the only way we can get teachers to take it seriously is if we make it part of their evaluation. And that's where I think it's gone wrong. I think, as I said, I think something can be learned from this information. I think if there was somehow a way to get like a groundswell, grassroots movement to get people at the state to understand that most educators are not 100% against any sort of standardized assessments, which is what they automatically go to the moment you question it. The moment you question what's happening, the response we get is, well, you just don't want anybody checking on you. You just don't want, and that's not it. I just think there needs to be a way to use this to provide information to teachers that also has just not teeth in it, but so people have some kind of
Objective.
some
Whether
kind
it's-
of way of knowing that teachers are that the educators are taking the information seriously and not just blowing it off and saying, well, that's just a standardized assessment and it doesn't matter. I know what's best for my kids. I know I know whether or not my kids are learning, and I shut my door every day, and you should trust that I know what my kids are doing.
I don't think you're playing devil's advocate. I think I think most people, educators, agree that it needs to be done and should be done, and I agree it should be done. I just think that the way it's set up is what really should be
Right.
adjusted, and I
That's-
think more educators should have input, like we talked about earlier, about the people who are actually dealing with it, the ones that have input on how it's done and when it's done.
That's the true shame too. I think data is a great thing, and I've been in schools where data has transformed the success of the school. But I think this system, as imposed as it is, kind of turns data into the boogeyman, and it takes something that is very beneficial, puts more emphasis than needed on it, and it turns people off to the whole data movement, and it drives people away from the benefits of it. And
Well,
I think that could be
and it
dangerous.
qualifies when you use the term data. Then let's ask the question: the old concept of drip. You're data rich, you're information poor. So we have all this data, but is it good? Can it actually tell us something? So if we assume that the test is going to give us valid results, then how do we manipulate that data to make it worthwhile? Does PBAS do that? And I think that's a great point you made, was we're testing so far before the end of the year on a test that's based off of grade level. It's not really like the 6th grade PSSA is different than the 7th grade PSSA. The only consistent variable we have is the amount of time in between, give or take a month. Statistically, I'm sure it's valid, but what are we really accurately getting an assessment there? It's interesting.
Well, and with Common Core, you're supposed to be teaching to depth and rigor. And if you're a middle school student who's in Algebra 1, now with the new Common Core, you're going to be taking an 8th grade Common Core PSSA on Algebra 1 content earlier than you're going to take your Keystone than in May. It's similar content, but now you've got to play, where does the ping pong ball fall in the curriculum to make sure the kids are prepared for those. And now you're getting 2 projected scores, 2 growth scores, 2 achievement scores. So the bigger question is, do those kids need to take both those tests, or do they need to take one? But again, it's just a product of the system.
I agree with the fact that, and I'm listening to all of us, I think we're all on the same page. I think as a teacher, the tests have given, so in the last, 14 years that I've been in Downingtown, it has changed my perspective. It's changed what I'm teaching in the classroom. There was a lot of, when I first got here, I feel like everybody was doing their own thing and doing what they want, and now there's such a focus on the test. It's given everyone a common purpose and a common focus. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out in the next few years, because instead of the concept of this shared responsibility, for our building, it's only grades 4 and 5. So K through 3 doesn't have to worry about PBAS. They don't have to worry about, their lists and who has which kid for which percentage of the time. So we're going at it from this shared responsibility perspective. But what it's really turning into is, well, you taught so-and-so for 30 minutes of reading for 33 days, so you better claim that 11%. That's what it's turning into at the elementary level. Whereas I think before it was looked at, and I think everybody has their different perspective even on it. I look at it like, if you pull a kid from my class for, a half an hour a day to give support, you're helping me. You're helping my scores in my own class. That's just supporting me. But there's a lot of people that feel like they don't want to give up that control of their student to someone else.
Well, I think teachers are stressed right now. All educators are. You start off the year and it's here's the Keystone update, here Common Core's coming, here's your new teacher evaluation system, and then, oh, by the way, you'll have SLOs in place next year as well too. So
Wait
it's,
till teachers see those.
and it's so it's SLOs are going to be a way that are going to start a whole nother I'm not going to say the word argument, but opportunity for contentious discussions, I guess, about kids and about assessments and about who's on first and such. So
But it's kind of what you're saying when I say, wait till we see those, it's really supporting the argument that all of the focus is on data and numbers and scores, and really this conversation started with this article about evaluating teachers, and is that what we want our own children's teachers worrying about? And so if we start with that argument, do I want my 4th grade daughter's teacher to only care about the PSSAs, or do I want lots of other intangible things going on in that classroom? And I do.
Yeah.
It's hard to measure that, but SLOs are going to be another way to measure stuff that doesn't fall under that unmeasurable, intangible, good stuff that I want in my own kids' classrooms.
And not to defend the teacher evaluation model, because I'm not, but more of a way to help give teachers a perspective and something to remember is, if you think about however many kids you teach, their individual achievement is only 15% of your overall evaluation.
And
Yeah,
for the
right.
kids you don't have all day,
So-
it's a percentage of the 15%.
Right. So I mean, the message I've tried to get across to staff is that those kids that maybe, we're arguing about who gets what percentage of,
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
we're fighting over.
Nothing.
It so doesn't matter that I'm from a high-performing school district. In a high-performing school, the scores are so good, bordering on very good, that almost my half of the pie is counterbalanced. So when I'm in the classroom doing observations, when I'm doing walkthroughs, when I'm having conversations, when I'm listening to the teacher talk about instruction, when I hear feedback from parents, my half of the pie, the intangible things that I want, can be counterbalanced.
Exactly. So if you look at the percentage, you take a high performing district like Downingtown, it makes it very difficult to find somebody unsatisfactory.
Right.
And on the flip side, you take a district where maybe they're struggling, it makes it very, very difficult to find an awesome teacher, give them a satisfactory rating.
Right.
Because, you know what I mean? There's both sides to that coin, that
Right.
it really
And
is
I
fighting
don't-
against what we're trying to do.
I don't have such a teacher, but if I had a teacher
Yeah.
that I was unsatisfied with for a lot of good reasons, that teacher could walk in and say, "What are you talking about?
My test
Look
scores."
at these test
Right.
scores; they're off through the roof.
Right.
What do you want me to do? I'm producing."
Yeah.
When I don't see those other things that I might want
Yeah.
to see.
But I think if
So
you go back to like what
it
you
kind of handcuffs and
It does
Like
to a certain
teachers-
extent. It really does.
teachers have been scared by this, by some propaganda, but in reality, this is really a protection for teachers from principals who could possibly subjectively find them unsatisfactory.
But I don't know if I'd say protection.
Yeah.
You think it's protection? In a high performing school, maybe.
I think you mean
Well, no
it's trying to
teacher-
be objective
no
when someone
teacher-
might try to
You're
be
looking right
subjective.
at the data.
No
And
teacher
you're-
can be found unsatisfactory solely based on student scores.
Correct. Right.
So
In all 4 categories or overall?
Overall.
Because you can be unsat in a category.
But if you're
Yeah,
actually
but you're
beat
still,
strong
it's
enough,
not going to
gonna
affect your
carry
overall
you.
Affect
evaluation.
your overall evaluation. Right.
Yeah.
But I think if you go back to your initial statement, and I'm a big believer in this. If you focus on the best practices in the classroom and instruction, whether teacher administrative way, your results will manifest themselves from that. And I think that's where we have to just continue to keep focus on is the best practices in the classroom.
I agree, but I also think that there has to be an even playing field. You can't stack one class over another. I mean, we have issues even in our building, like some teachers get 4 or 5 deep kids and then other teachers don't get any, or some kids get a high level of learning support kids that are really significantly below grade level. Some people don't get any.
But the thing to remember
So-
about that is
Growth.
those kids still
Growth.
have to do a year's worth of growth.
Well, this
The
changes.
gifted
This
kids,
changes
the
the
4 or
game
5
there.
gifted
Yeah.
kids.
This is what you were saying.
This is what we
It's
were talking
actually
about.
more difficult to show
That's true.
growth with them than it is the kids that are not
That
more
is true.
difficult. But I
That
mean,
is
it's
true.
still.
So jump in
It's
with
still
what
so
you're
more
saying.
difficult.
you do have to show that there's growth, and then if you do have those type of students that are in there, you may not want those students then, and then we have teachers battling teachers, we have teachers that don't want some students, do want some, and you want to make sure you have that balance in the class. Before, it was just sort of like we shared information, we shared students, who were all responsible for students, and now we're worrying about the details of, you know, the types of students and, you know, battling against your coworker instead of working with them. So yes, you have to show growth, and you want to make sure maybe that you have middle of the road classroom and not worry about either end, which could cause problems.
Or that you have an even balance and you're considering a lot of like other issues. You know, you don't want to put a lot of behavior problems in one room, or, you know, just other things like that that might cause one classroom to be unbalanced next to the other.
Yeah, unbalanced now just might look different. You know, before you had teachers who always want to I want to teach the gifted classes. I have to teach the high level classes. And some of that thinking might change, because the most bang for your buck is going to be your bubble kids who are that line of proficient and basic, because there's a lot of growth that can be made in that range there. So that's interesting.
And it is driving a lot of positive things. Like there's now a bigger, at least at the secondary level, there's a bigger drive now for common assessments and common unit planning and talking about not so much kids and data and curriculum in isolation, that they're all interrelated now, so that it's opening up those doors where teachers are shutting them and getting them to talk about kids and what they're doing in their classroom, and I think that is a tremendous positive, so that we're able to get more common data on kids to be able to make better decisions.
All right. Well, that's a good discussion, folks. John, why don't you take us home, since you're playing the student over there? Wrap up the segment.
How am I supposed to follow that up?
Bring us into commercial.
We'll be right back with more of the Rockstar Principals podcast.
Commercials. We're always doing them for other people. But now, something so amazing has happened, John. We've got to talk about it ourselves.
What?
Before, we used to give you all these links. You know, here's how you get to the episodes. Here's how you get to our Twitter.
I've got them all written down here on my handy-dandy notebook.
Yeah, that's how you find stuff, right?
Right.
No longer.
Wait a minute. What did you do?
Now, you can go to rockstarprinciples.com.
Wait a second. It can't be that easy. Hold on. I'm at my computer.
rockstarprinciples.com.
Look at that. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are live on the internet. Well, not really live, but we have a live website on the internet, rockstarprinciples.com. All of your needs for the fans of the Rockstar Principals right here on one website. We've got the different podcast episodes. If you want to listen to them via the website, via iTunes and Stitcher, you can do that. And in fact, Nick even put a player. What is this called? A media player, right? Right on the website. Yeah. And when I hit play here, it goes right. Let me go back to the beginning and see what happens.
Welcome to the Rockstar Principals podcast.
This is us
coming straight to you from
listening to us. You're listening to us, listening to us.
It's amazing.
How does that work? Look, wait, let me just skip ahead.
Best platform possible.
Look at that.
Really
That's Nick talking.
Education
you can go to a website and listen to Nick talk. And me. There's me talking.
Right.
There's both of us. Wait, I just said right. Is this confusing the heck out of you now?
It's like looking at the multiple mirrors.
But yeah, you can play our podcast right there off of the website. What else is on here now?
Oh my God, you name it, it's on here. First of all, you've got, like you said, you can get to our podcast any format you want. You can listen to it from the main website, from iTunes, from Stitcher. You can read some of our editorials. You can look at some of the quotes we post
do editorials?
on Twitter.
I didn't know we were doing. How come you do all the editorials?
You can do an editorial.
I want to do an editorial.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
You can go back there. Yeah, I think we make it open in a new window. Isn't that cool? You can link to our Storify. When we do our PAESSP chats, you've got that there. And then from the top of the page, you can link to our Facebook page, our YouTube channel, our LinkedIn profile, our Twitter page. I mean, it is all.
You can email us.
You can email us.
Drop us a line and leave a message. Our phone number's on there. There's even a little part that's about us. If you'd like to get a little bit more information, about John and Nick.
Our biographies are up there.
Yes,
but
our
most
biographies.
importantly,
Yes.
let's reference our services page, because this is brand new. You haven't seen this yet, folks. The Rockstar Principals are now beginning to advertise our own services. What can we do for you? Pretty much anything, folks.
Well, really, I mean,
seriously.
we have speaking engagements and consulting services listed here, but, you know, I got a snowblower. You want us to come take you out in the snow? I got kids. I can bring them over. We can rake the leaves in your front yard with the yard work.
Babysit.
Wash your car. You know, we're available. Yeah, hit us up if you've got an idea and, you know, within driving distance of Berks County, Pennsylvania. Unless you want to pay for the airfare. I mean, you know, if you're listening from around the world, obviously the cost will include the airfare for us to come to you.
For the snowblower, too.
Well, yeah, I
would
would think you probably have a snowblower of your own would probably be more economical. But
yeah, but you put it out there, so now we have to do it if they.
Well, I'm saying I'll come and push your snowblower to help get you out. You know, rather than pay to fly my snowblower to your house, if you have a snowblower, pay for me to fly to your house to push your snowblower.
Maybe we could have that be like an add-on service too. Like we'll come and consult for you at your school. And then we'll go
we'll free, no matter, even if it's in August.
Yeah.
We'll bring our snowblower.
Fantastic. But hey, if you like what we do, we're available for speaking engagements, consulting services, and we're going to be doing a lot of presenting coming up this summer and all through the next year or so.
One engagement we already have, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, we're lined up this July in Nashville, Tennessee.
That's right, for the NAESP conference, the annual National Association of Elementary School Principals Conference. The Rockstar Principals will be speaking in Nashville at that conference. Something to look forward to if you happen to be going that way.
So we're just going to rock the world. We are awesome. I mean...
You, my friend, are the awesome one for setting this incredible website up.
And what is that website? Rockstarprincipals.com. But guess what? If you have a mobile device or an iPad and you don't like to try to look at the entire site, which you can at rockstarprincipals.com, then you can go to our mobile site at m.rockstarprincipals.com, and you can look at our mobile site. We're just rocking the world. Because that's what we do, we're rock stars.
I'm looking at our YouTube channel.
Yeah, isn't that pretty cool?
There's a video on there that we made that has 68,000 views.
Yeah, I'd like to see that video keep pulling more views as time goes on.
Well, if the snow keeps up, maybe we
That's
can.
true.
Maybe people will come back to it again once the snow starts hitting again.
Yeah,
you never know.
I think we've
pretty cool website, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. Anything else we want to say for the group of calls?
Rockstarprincipals.com. Rockstarprincipals.com.
Eat, sleep, rock, repeat.
Thanks for helping RSP top the charts in the Edu podcast world. Keep it real with Twisted Steel and School Appeal.